As the great independent director Mr. Werner Herzog once said, I despise formal restaurants. I find all of that formality to be very base and vile. I would much rather eat potato chips on the sidewalk.
Flexing the podcast muscles. Hello and welcome to Potato Chips on the Sidewalk. I'm Barbecue Benjamin. Joining me today is, should he choose to accept it,
Jacob, or is it?
Are you wearing a mask? Because this is an audio-only podcast, and the visual gag won't work.
Fuck. Oh well.
Yeah.
We can only do one take of these things for some reason, so...
Well, I got places to be, like my bed. Today we're going to be talking about the seventh installment of the Mission Impossible franchise. Eighth, actually, if you count the television series.
Yes.
Dead Reckoning Part 1. Jacob, just before we get into Dead Reckoning, how do you feel about Mission Impossible in general?
Yeah, I really like the films. They're a lot of fun. I don't think I've rewatched all of them in quite a while. I think last time I rewatched them all was not watched them all. I remember rewatching 4 and 5 before Fallout. So my memory is a little musky on the first 3, but yeah, like yeah, I really like them. You know, they're what you go to the movies for. You know, sometimes you just want to see
The movies.
death-defying stunts by crazy people, and those films deliver, and they're good, competent, entertaining films outside of the death-defying stunts. And I think for a franchise that's so
eclectic,
it's been going on for so long and has so many installments, each one is actually quite distinct. Like, I could definitely tell which installment's which from just viewing a random frame.
Even the McHugh ones as well.
Yeah, even the McHugh ones. Like, those are different because, like, I can tell they're the Macquarie ones, but I still think they all feel different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ben, what do you think? I know you're the Mission Impossible guy. What do you think of the...
I watch them all quite frequently.
Yeah.
I would say once a year, every 2 years at least. I'll give you a quick rundown of what I think of each film. Mission Impossible 1. Great movie. Probably the first 20 minutes is some of my favourite stuff in the entire series. Falls apart a bit in the last act, but, you know, overall, really, really great. Mission Impossible 2. There is some cool, fun stuff in it, like the John Woo, action stuff, but overall, I think I just don't get the critical reassessment of it. Like, I find most of it to be pretty boring outside of the John Woo shootouts, and also the final thing being in the suburbs of East Sydney with 20 Ford Falcons, 1996 Ford Falcons, really takes me out of it, because at no point do I believe those cars are keeping up with this bike that Tom Cruise is on. But, you know, like, I just don't see the resurgence of it. And then, unpopular opinion, I actually think Mission Impossible 3 is my favourite. You know, I get people wanting to hate on J.J. Abrams, but I don't know. I think it's probably the first one I saw when I was like 9 years old, so it's probably why I've got a soft spot for it. But, like, I don't know. I think it was also like the first thing I ever saw Philip Seymour Hoffman in, so I don't know. It's my favourite.
Mine was Along Came Polly.
How old were you?
Probably too young.
Yeah. Then another unpopular opinion. I like 4, but I think a lot of people have like pointed out that it does kind of lose a lot of steam after Burj Khalifa, and I like Jeremy Renner in general, but you know, like the whole stuff with him in a magnet suit, and it's just I just find it kind of
I like the magnet suit.
yeah, but like I know like the first half of Ghost Protocol like is great. Like, you know, I like the video screen when they're walking down the hallway. You know, like the prison fight at the beginning, the whole Burj Khalifa sequence. Like, a lot of it is really great. I find it kind of boring after the sandstorm.
Yeah.
And then Rogue Nation, great all around. I like the relatively smaller scale that it goes into after Ghost Protocol. Sorry, this is probably so boring to everyone.
No.
And then
I clicked on this.
and then
Made me want to know this.
and you know, like I posted about the manifestation of destiny scene on Twitter a couple months ago about how it's like one of the fucking most hilarious and cool things that's ever happened in a blockbuster in the last 10 years. And then Fallout is probably my second favorite. You know, like everybody talks about all the stunts and Henry Cavill reloading his arms and like the scene where everybody betrays each other like 4 times in the underground thing, you know, like it's just Fallout like is really, really good. And now Mission Impossible 7 Dead Reckoning. Jacob, what did you think of it?
I liked it. I think probably by default, though, it might be my least favorite of the series because, like, you know, I think like, you know, I remember quite having a lot of fun with 2, as imperfect as it is, but like, at least I like remember bits and pieces of that more, like, whereas I feel like this was the most in one ear out the other of the films for me. Okay, like I don't know why, but yeah, it was still a good time. Perhaps it's just because like there's already been so many part 1 films this year that I'm kind of like, okay, we're going through the motions, like
yeah.
And this isn't no Across the Spider-Verse, which we haven't reviewed on here, but I really like that one.
I think we mentioned it during the Flash, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I really liked Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. But I think it's still probably like only my 5th favorite at most. There's a thing that I've been talking about with the Fast and Furious franchise since like 7, is that like you get to a point of diminishing returns, and I think these films are a lot better overall and consistent than the Fast and Furious movies, but you get to a point where I saw the promo of Tom Cruise jumping off that cliff on the motorbike into the base jump I don't know how many times, like over the last, 3 or 4 years. Like, when did they start shooting this? It had to be like years ago.
Let me check. I think it might have been like 2020, 2021.
But like, I don't know how many times I saw that stunt in just like promotional materials, that it just kind of lost its luster for me. So when I finally saw it in this film, I was like, okay, yeah, no, like I saw a little bit more of it than I
had before.
Yeah. But like I wasn't like that amazed by many of the stunts in this. Like, I feel like I'm struggling to think of like Tom Cruise doing something insane other than that in this film, and I can't really like put my finger on it. Like, I'm into a lot of what this film is doing. I just found it probably to be the least impressive to me out of all the Christopher McQuarrie directed ones, and I have quite a few issues with where they left some characters, and it's pretty well documented that Rogue Nation and Fallout were kind of pieced together after the fact with their stunt sequences. Like they kind of like wrote the story in between the action they already had, and in those it worked quite well. But I guess we haven't really talked about what the plot is of this film, where the bad guy Gabriel is working for an AI entity that they keep saying the entity throughout the... I don't know how many times they say the entity throughout the film, but I could feel them just being like, we don't know what this thing's going to be when they were making it. That they were just like, okay, the entity's going to do something in part 2. And it just felt like really cold. Oh, these keys, we need to put these 2 keys together. Like, it was very, like MacGuffin for the sake of MacGuffin. Like, I talked about how much I like Mission Impossible 3 with the whole, like what's the rabbits for? Haha, it doesn't matter with Justin MacGuffin. I think that worked quite well in that movie because, J.J. Abrams is a bit of a dickhead with that shit. But, like, in this one, it felt like they actually just didn't know what it was going to be for most of the shoot. And I could see the seams in this quite a bit more than I could in the others.
Yeah. I think the prologue especially.
Oh, wow.
It's like, yeah, the prologue's quite haphazard, shall we say, but not
and like half an hour long.
Yeah, and it's like yeah, I get what you mean. I think like it feels very thrown together, and perhaps there's some big grand idea that they have in 2 that like feels a bit more fleshed out, but this kind of feels like it's both treading water, but like also not really not really knowing what the point of treading water is.
Yeah.
But like, and that's the thing. It's like, you don't have to go too deep into evil AI controlling this man. Tom Cruise and co must stop it. And like, I think for a period, like the first big main sequence in like after the prologue is set in an airport, which is probably like the best part of the film, I think.
Yeah.
Where like, yeah, there is this sort of paranoia and all things, but like, it just kind of, yeah, I don't know. It felt very part 1 to me, but not in like a way that necessarily justifies having this be a 2-part film.
Well, I just really don't know what people want out of part 1s, because I think Spider-Verse did it so well.
Yeah.
Of like,
yeah.
I felt like that part of the story was complete, and it did give me a pretty major hook for the second one. And this kind of fell flat for me, where it's just like, okay, we're still going, and I'm happy that we're getting this in less than a year, but like, I'm not really that excited to see what the entity really is. Like, like, I get the whole like anti-AI thing. I'm dead set against AI, but like, I don't know, like, as a villain, I'm not really convinced that they're gonna stick the landing with it. Yeah, it's just kind of.
Don't get it wrong. I actually really like S.I. Morales in this. He's a very good, convincing presence. Like,
but I just wish he had his own motivation.
Yeah,
Which he
no,
probably,
can't.
I guess he does have his own motivation that he wants this thing to succeed, but like,
That's reserved for part 2.
yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. It's like I think what Spider-Verse did really well was it felt like it was its own complete film. Like it needed to be a part 1 of 2,
Yeah.
but like you kind of there's like a thematic conclusion to like the main strands in the film.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like there is this thing of like, you know, I guess spoilers Spider-Verse, but yeah, like Miles Morales is in a very different place emotionally. And so is Gwen Stacy, and I guess so is Miguel and all the spider people. But yeah, it's like it's like it feels like it's has a reason to be a film, its own film, other than serving the next one.
Yeah.
And and there's a lot of fun to be had here. I think
Yeah, overall, I want to, like, we're talking negative. This is going to be the God of War Ragnarok review all over again, where I do, in fact, enjoy this.
Yeah.
But my criticisms come to the top because I like this thing, but it leaves a little bit to be desired for me.
Yeah, and you hold it in such high esteem, the films
Yeah.
as well. So yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you there.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and like, but yeah, it's like, you know, like Hayley Atwell's the big new character in this, and she's a very good, like, convincing on-screen presence, and I think she has really good and legitimate chemistry with Tom Cruise, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of her character. But like, yeah, it's just the film kind of just. All right, yeah. Well, I guess wait for part 2.
Yeah.
There's that sort of pervasive feeling about that, and yeah, I think talking about the big stunts, like, because there isn't really the big stunt until the end of the film, and like with the Macquarie's previous 2 Mission Impossible films. The big stunts in those were usually really
Early.
that were like hugely advertised, were like really early in the film. Like the one in Rogue Nation is pretty much the prologue, right?
Yeah.
And then like Fallout's like 10
Directly
like
after
5,
the pro. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah, there isn't as, because there is that like 3-year marketing cycle with this film as well. And I don't know how they haven't given anything away from part 2.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I actually haven't seen anything other than apparently Nick Offerman's going to be in it.
Yeah.
I don't really know anything, like, stunt-wise that's coming from part 2, so I might enjoy that a lot more.
Yeah. I also think, like, though this film is, like, don't get me wrong, like, for blockbusters is really well shot and looks better, I think it is quite a noticeable
Downgrade.
visual downgrade, and that's not just because of the conversion to digital, like from the previous Macquarie films being all on 35mm. It just kind of feels like it's just kind of lacking.
Well,
like,
do you know what I think it is? Is that there's only one action thing throughout the entire film that's not at daytime.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of those guys that, like, thinks that, like, blockbusters just inherently look better at nighttime. But, like, Rogue Nation, the Casablanca car chase, is, like, that looks great. Like, the 35mm, I think it's probably one of the better car chases in the entire series. Shot at daytime, looks fantastic. But so much of this is just so I hate to say this because it does look good. There's a bit of like television lighting to it, to me.
Yeah, and like this is the thing. Like visually, it's a huge step up from like most other blockbusters, but
Yeah.
in comparison to like the previous 3 films being shot by like Robert Elswit and Rob Hardy, and because Rob Hardy did all the McQuarrie ones, right?
No, I think he only did Fallout.
Oh, who did
Wait, Rogue
Nation?
Let me
But
get
anyway,
the Google up.
Besides the point, yeah, it does feel like a bit of a. It does. It's definitely lacking, but only in comparison to the series.
Robert Elswit did Rogue Nation.
Oh, okay. So he did 2. Okay, so it was the other way around.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say before because I need to talk about something in spoilers.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, so if you haven't seen Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, turn it off this part of the podcast for now. But everything I've complained about earlier in this episode is compounded by what I'm about to spoil. So pause now and come back later if you are interested in hearing what that thing is. So ample chance to turn it off now. Okay. Yeah. So I like Hayley Atwell in this film. I like Hayley Atwell in general. I like Rebecca Ferguson a lot more. And
Well,
I think
she's kind of like the heart of the McQuarrie films.
yeah, she's the best addition that McQuarrie brought in. And I think killing her and then kind of blatantly like replacing her with Hayley Atwell is a huge mistake for the franchise. And as we talked to our screening for Talk to Me last time, we talked to Andrew from The Curb.
Shout out Andrew.
Yeah. How you going, Andrew? He did point out, why replace? Why not just have both of them? You know, like it's I think Rebecca Ferguson's presence was in the first, like after the prologue and up until like about halfway of the film, her presence was like sorely missed for me. You know, like the car chase sequence in Rome in the little tiny car is a fun time with Hayley Atwell and Tom Cruise. Like they're obviously like, you know, having a lot of fun filming it. It's like it's a comedic car chase and everything. And the entire time I was thinking, I just kind of want Rebecca Ferguson to be here, like, you know, doing something.
You're right that there's like no real reason that you can't have
both of them,
more than one woman on the team, like for like a long time. It's. I wonder if that was a contract thing or if Rebecca Ferguson wanted out. But like, it was weird and it feels not great. I don't know.
And again, this is going to be compounded with another thing where the villain Gabriel is revealed to be from Ethan Hunt's past before he joined the IMF, where Gabriel murdered a woman very close, a woman that we don't know. I assume that we're going to hear a lot more about it in part 2.
Yeah.
Probably, you know, like learn who this woman was. But she's murdered by Gabriel, and then Ilsa is also murdered by Gabriel. And, you know, like, say what you will about the whole, you know, like, is fridging ever acceptable? Is it ever, like, needed for any reason? But to do it twice in one film with, like, one of my favorite characters in the franchise plus create an entirely new character that we've never heard of just to have her murdered by the same villain. So you're fridging two women for one man's motivation to get revenge. Like, I just don't know how nobody put their hand up and was like, hey, Mr. Cruz, Mr. McQuarrie, maybe we don't do that. Like, if we have to kill Ilsa for any, you know, like, she wanted to leave, like, contract obligations, she was committed to something else, like, why create the second woman that we have never heard of before?
Yeah.
It felt very, like, unnecessary in kind of just, like, what more motivation did Ethan Hunt need to hunt down, like, for, like, Solomon Lane in Rogue Nation and Fallout? The guy was just evil. We don't need him to murder. Oh, I guess he did put Michelle Monaghan in danger in Fallout. But I don't know. It's just I'm really struggling to understand the motivation behind both killing off Ilsa, creating this new character, and then not allowing. Like, did Hayley Atwell and Rebecca Ferguson share a single scene together where they both spoke?
I recall very briefly.
Because the only thing I can think of is, like, the Venice club that's, like, surrounding them is the entity. Like, the entity thing is pissing me off. You couldn't think of a name for it? The entity. How many fucking times did they say that? Again, I did enjoy this. Yeah. But, like, they're both there and Gabriel's like, oh, I'm going to kill either one of them. They're both silent in that scene. And I just found that aspect of the film to be very lacking, and knowing that Rebecca Ferguson isn't going to be in the next one is very disappointing to me, to say the least.
Yeah. And, like, yeah, I think it's... Yeah, I want to... I want to see where they're going with it, but it is... Yeah, there's... Fridge once, you know...
Fool me once.
Yeah, shame on me. Fridge twice.
Me twice,
like,
shame on you.
Yeah, it's like... there is that element, and... I don't know, it's just like... You can surely balance more than one female on the IMF team, like...
Well, we got Luther and we got Simon Pegg, who are both tech guys.
Yeah, you know, it's like...
Benji, I'm sorry to call him Simon Pegg, but, like...
yeah, and, like, whatever happened to Paula Patton from Ghost Protocol? She was really good.
Oh, no, but they brought in Rebecca Ferguson so they couldn't have another woman. Like...
Yeah, there's, like, a weird one woman per IMF... it's weird,
it's like a regulation.
I hadn't really, like, noticed it before this. Like, so I was just kind of like...
Maggie Q in 3, like, Kerry Russell dies and they bring in Maggie Q.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, because, like, I think Ving Rhames is only in a cameo in 4.
Yeah, right at the end.
But, like, so that kind of, like, lent to, like, a sort of, like, when Paula Patton didn't return in 5, it's like, oh, okay, well, like, it's got to be a rotating roster.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, no, okay, it's just one woman per film I get.
It's kind of, it's really, like, it's such a weird thing for these films to be of such high quality and then to just drop the ball in this aspect this late.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Yeah, very disappointing in that one.
Honestly, I would not be surprised if somehow Rebecca Ferguson returns in the next one.
No, I don't think they will, because they had her lifeless with her eyes open.
Yeah.
You know, like, I just feel like unless they pull some long lost twin bullshit on us, or she was in a
mask.
If she was in a
Dead
mask, I'm going to.
Jesus.
Sorry, that's not a threat. I'm sorry. Do not delist us for anything. It was a joke.
Jesus.
Again, it would not be a barbecue Benjamin blackout. Talking about an action film if I didn't point out the the continued aping of Uncharted 2 by Hollywood. Not even the Uncharted series at this point. It's specifically Uncharted 2.
Well, it's Uncharted 2 or 3.
Yeah. But there was a shot in this that was directly framed exactly as the cold open of Uncharted 2. That I was just like, come on, this an action sequence on a train again was done a million times before Uncharted 2, but the specific imagery with them climbing up the train cars as they're falling down and falling off the cliff, it was multiple shots where I was just like, I don't believe Tom Cruise has ever played a video game in his life, but somebody on the crew has. And
Macquarie definitely has.
Oh yeah, probably. But it's just, I like Uncharted 2. Again, I do this every time I talk about The Last of Us, but I have the Uncharted 2 dagger tattooed on me. Like I talk about how I have the Ellie tattoo from The Last of Us. Everybody knows my tattoos now who listens to this podcast, and they've never even seen me. But
besides the one on your butt, that's a secret.
Okay, well, only you know about that one. When you whiff my butt. I don't know what I'm doing now.
Yeah, I don't. That didn't actually happen.
Okay, live for the audience, Jacob. At this point, I just think, why not, the ship graveyard in Uncharted 3, why don't we copy that next time? Or the cruise ship. Let's just progress from Uncharted 2 to 3, or even 4. I gotta stop this. It's gonna drive me insane. One thing I do like, though, is the...
Look, I hope you never become a huge Buster Keaton fan, because you'll just be like, what?
No, I know, people are like, it's Uncharted, it's Buster Keaton, and...
It's both.
Yeah, I know. I'm much more versed in PlayStation 3 video games from 2009 than I am Buster Keaton films.
So am I.
But one thing I do enjoy is Metal Gear Solid imagery appearing more and more in blockbuster films, and this has plenty of that. All I'm petitioning for is Hollywood, take your eyes off Naughty Dog and direct them to Hideo Kojima. Because
the two genders in the two genders, it's Uncharted or Metal Gear Solid.
Well, it's
which
just
way Western blockbuster
director. Any more complaints about this movie? I enjoy it, Jacob.
Not complaints. I want to give a big shout out to Ving Rhames.
Yeah, look, I said this before. That man, I'm telling you what, if he put a steak in front of me, I'd be like, he knows what he's doing with a flame grill, I reckon. He's wearing that hat, that Luther hat. He owns that. That's his own hat.
Also on a serious note, Vanessa Kirby has one very unique screen presence.
Yeah.
She does these crazy eye things as was it Alana, her character? Yeah. Where it's just what's going on there? But it's captivating. So
yeah.
Yeah. I like all the actors in this film.
Oh yeah, we haven't even mentioned Pom Clemente playing kind of like the Ruby Rose from John Wick 2 role.
Oh, she doesn't really do much.
That's what I mean. Like,
And again,
she's good.
a third female death in the film. They need to have a female villain in the next one. So
I want to make it clear that like, it's gonna sound terrible now that I'm just thinking about it in my head. I don't have a problem with a woman dying in an action scene. You know, like that's not inherently wrong to what it is. The point is that there are two women who are murdered specifically to give Ethan Hunt motivation for revenge. What I have the issue with. Like, that's what fridging actually is.
No, I agree. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's fridging, but it is weird that the only three characters that...
Well, Cary Elwes.
Oh, true, I forgot about that.
He does get murdered.
Yeah, that's true.
By Pom Clemente.
That is true.
Yes.
Yeah, and also Shea Wiggum.
Oh yeah.
He's a lot of fun in this. He's like a good. Like
he's
Shea
playing
Wiggum,
his Boardwalk Empire character.
Yeah, look, Shea Wiggum's such a nice like. Oh, he's in this sort of actor.
Yeah,
like. Yeah. He does a good job in this.
Oh, who's gonna voice the entity in part 2?
Ooh.
Oh, is that going to be Nick Offerman? No.
Maybe.
No, I want Nick Offerman to be a third hacker man. So, like, him, Simon Pegg, and Ving Rhames can all be like, I'm better at coding.
No, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not even a voice.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
Anyway, do you have anything else to say?
Shout out to the guy in our cinema who was very vocal at Ethan Hunt getting handcuffed to a car steering wheel when a train was coming along. He was gobsmacked by that one.
This is my impression of the guy and the sound he made.
Like, I don't enjoy people being too loud in cinema, but like people vocalizing just excitement does always give me a little bit of a joy. And that guy was just, I think it might have been the first movie he's ever seen.
Well, and there were all those reports with Top Gun Maverick of like like fully grown men going like whoa like certain. Look, Tom Cruise, he something about those films, he gets those grown men going like, ooh, like, whoa.
Yeah. Also, shout out to the guy who plays Vanessa Kirby's brother for always being the biggest schmuck in any Mission Impossible scene. Like, he cannot get a leg up for anything.
Yeah.
Like, he poor guy. I'm just trying to think, like, what else off the cuff thoughts did I have during the film? Oh, we haven't even mentioned Henry Czerny.
Oh yeah, Kittredge is back.
He doesn't have anything as cool as the if you want to shake hands with the devil line from the first movie, but he's very good at playing dickhead governmental dickhead. Like, and I didn't know. I still don't know whose side he's on. And
who knows? That's.
I'll tell you who knows. Christopher McQuarrie.
Also, why did Rob Delaney show up for like a shot?
Yeah, there was, and also Mark Gatiss.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was just like okay, like, and then the guy from Top Gun 2. The guy who's like friends with John Hamm.
Oh, Charles Parnell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just all these guys turning up. Speaking of guys turning up, we're seeing Oppenheimer next week. Dane DeHaan. Oh, Dane DeHaan should be a Mission Impossible villain.
Oh well, I mean, it's like, wasn't Nick Offerman meant to play the S.A. Morales character? And then he had to drop out.
No, he's definitely in the cast list.
Oh,
Yeah.
thought he dropped out. Anyway,
He's in the cast list. I just don't know who he's playing. What was I going to say? I don't know what I was saying. The biggest Mission Impossible villain is time, because Tom Cruise is now 60. I'm just rambling at this point. Goodbye.